Listen carefully. You're here because you've watched others rise while you remain stuck. You've seen men with less talent, less intelligence, less potential somehow build empires while you're still building excuses. And here's a truth that cuts deeper than any blade. Thomas Shelby didn't conquer Birmingham through brilliance alone. He conquered it through relentless, bone-deep, unbreakable consistency. The world doesn't reward your intentions. It doesn't care about your plans scribbled in notebooks that never see daylight. It rewards the man who shows up when everyone else quits. The man who executes when others merely dream. The man who forces consistency into his DNA until it becomes as natural as breathing. You think Tommy became untouchable through luck, through one good decision? No. He became untouchable because every single day, in the rain, in the blood, in the chaos, he showed up. He executed. He moved the pieces forward. While others waited for perfect conditions, he created conditions through sheer, unrelenting consistency. If you're ready to step into that version of yourself, declare it now. Comment these words below. Consistency is my weapon. Write it as a promise to yourself, as a warning to everyone who doubted you. Because from this moment forward, you're no longer the person who starts strong and fades. You're the person who finishes what others couldn't even begin. Number 1, the Shelby law of momentum. Thomas Shelby understood something most men die never learning. Momentum is built in the dark, in the moments no one sees, in the hours when quitting feels like mercy. Every empire he built started with a single consistent action, repeated until it became an unstoppable force. Watch how Tommy operates. He doesn't make random moves. He doesn't act on impulse. Every decision, every conversation, every calculated silence is part of a system built on consistency. While Arthur explodes with emotion, while John acts on instinct, Tommy remains steady, predictable in his unpredictability, consistent in his strategy. This is the law. Consistency transforms ordinary men into forces of nature. You see a cigarette lit with the same deliberate motion. You see meetings run with clockwork precision. You see a man who, whether facing the Italian mafia or the Russian aristocracy, maintains the same cold calculation. That's not personality, that's discipline. That's consistency weaponized. Most men are scattered. They chase 10 opportunities and master none. They start strong on Monday and collapse by Wednesday. They promise themselves change and deliver excuses. Tommy would look at that pattern and see exactly what it is: weakness disguised as effort. The Shelby law is clear. One direction, one focus, one relentless push forward every single day, no matter what. Your enemies, your competitors, the people secretly hoping you fail, they're counting on your consistency. They're betting you'll quit when things get hard. They're waiting for you to prove you're just another man with big talk and small action. Prove them wrong. Not with words, with consistency so brutal it becomes your reputation. Ask yourself this: if someone studied your last 30 days, would they see a pattern of excellence or chaos? Would they see momentum building or energy scattered? Tommy's entire empire was built because everyone knew. Cross him and the response was inevitable, consistent, absolute. That's power. If you understand, prove it now. Comment, I built momentum through consistency. Engrave it into your mind. Make it law. 2, the enemy of consistency. Your greatest enemy isn't out there. It's not your competition. It's not the economy. It's not bad luck. The most dangerous enemy you face lives between your ears, and it whispers the same poison every morning. You can start tomorrow. You've earned a break. You've done enough. That voice, that's the enemy, and it has killed more potential than every bullet fired in Birmingham. Thomas Shelby faced this enemy daily. The trauma of the tunnels, the weight of the crown, the blood on his hands, the ghosts in his sleep. Every morning he had 1,000 reasons to break, to quit, to disappear into a bottle like Arthur, but he didn't, because he understood something crucial. The moment you negotiate with weakness, you've already lost. Most men lose the war before breakfast. They wake up and immediately start negotiating with discipline. Maybe I'll start the workout tomorrow. Maybe I'll make those calls later. Maybe I'll push through next week. Every maybe is a surrender. Every negotiation with your inner weakness is a loss. Tommy didn't negotiate. Watch him in the series. Someone threatens his family, response is immediate, calculated, consistent. Business needs attention. He handles it, tired or not. A meeting is scheduled. He's there, sharp as a blade, regardless of what happened the night before. This is the war most men never fight. They're so busy fighting external battles that they ignore the internal one. And the internal enemy is patient. It waits for your motivation to fade. It waits for the day you're tired. It waits for the moment you think you've done enough, then it strikes. Here's what Tommy knew. Motivation is a lie. Discipline is truth. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going when motivation dies. And motivation always dies. Always. The men who wait for motivation to return are the men who never build anything lasting. They're the men whose dreams die in comfort, in hesitation, in tomorrow. Your internal enemy wants you comfortable. It wants you predictable. It wants you safe. But safety is the graveyard of ambition. Comfort is where potential goes to die. Every time you choose ease over execution, you confirm your own irrelevance. Tommy chose differently. Every single day. Ask yourself, are you in command of your actions, or are your feelings in command of you? When you don't feel like working, do you work anyway? When you're tired, do you push through? When you're scared, do you move forward, or do you surrender to the voice that promises comfort? The man who masters this internal enemy becomes untouchable, because while everyone else is waiting to feel like it, he's already won. While they're negotiating with weakness, he's executing. While they're making excuses, he's building an empire. Do not negotiate. Do not show mercy. Do not listen to that voice. If you understand, declare it. Comment, I conquer my weakness first. That's not motivation, that's strategy. And once you win this war, nothing external can break you.
3. The cold calculation of daily discipline. Discipline isn't romantic. It doesn't come with applause. It's cold, repetitive, and often invisible. But understand this, Tommy Shelby's power wasn't built in moments of glory. It was built in the mundane repetition of daily discipline. Watch the pattern. Early mornings, sharp suits, calculated conversations, precise timing. This wasn't accidental, this was architecture. Tommy built his day like a weapon, and every element was sharpened through consistency. Most men worship inspiration. They wait for the feeling to strike, the moment to be right, the stars to align. That's why most men fail. They're building on sand, on feelings that shift with the weather. Tommy built on stone, daily discipline that didn't care about feelings. Here's the brutal truth. Your feelings are irrelevant. You don't feel like making that call? Make it anyway. You don't feel like showing up? Show up anyway. You don't feel like pushing through? Push through anyway. Your feelings are not your master. They're noise, and the disciplined man silences noise with action. Tommy faced the same demons you face: exhaustion, doubt, fear. The difference? He moved anyway. He didn't wait until he felt brave. He acted, and bravery followed. He didn't wait until he felt motivated. He executed, and momentum followed. This is the secret they don't teach you. Action creates emotion, not the other way around. The undisciplined man waits to feel confident before he acts. The disciplined man acts, and confidence builds through repetition. The weak man waits for courage. The strong man moves despite fear, and courage emerges from the movement. Every habit you build is either constructing your empire or dismantling it. Every action repeated is either strengthening your foundation or eroding it. There is no neutral. You're either building or breaking, ascending or descending, moving forward or sliding back. Tommy knew this. That's why he turned routine into ritual. The way he lit his cigarette, the way he entered a room, the way he controlled every meeting. These weren't random. They were practiced, refined, repeated until they became part of his identity. Discipline is the currency of power. It buys you freedom. It buys you respect. It buys you the ability to shape reality instead of reacting to it. Ask yourself, what is your daily law? Do you have non-negotiables, or do you negotiate with yourself every morning? Do you have systems, or do you operate on chaos? Because chaos feels like freedom, but it's actually prison. Structure feels like restriction, but it's actually liberation. The disciplined man knows exactly what he's doing every day because he decided in advance. He doesn't waste energy on decision fatigue. He doesn't burn willpower on whether to work out or make calls or push forward. Those decisions are already made. The path is set. All that remains is execution. Ruthless discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It commands what you must do. When discipline becomes law, weakness has no air to breathe. When discipline becomes identity, failure becomes impossible. Because the disciplined man doesn't quit. He can't. It's not in his programming anymore. Prove you understand. Comment now. Discipline is destiny. Etch it into your consciousness. The man who lives by this law cannot be broken, cannot be delayed, cannot be ignored. 4. Strategic consistency, the long game. Here's where most men fail. They confuse consistency with mindless repetition. They show up every day doing the wrong things and wonder why they're getting nowhere. Thomas Shelby didn't just show up. He showed up with strategy. Every consistent action was aimed at a specific target. This is strategic consistency, knowing where you're going and showing up every day to get there. Tommy didn't build random businesses. He built strategic positions. He didn't make random connections. He built strategic alliances. He didn't take random risks. He made calculated moves consistently in the same direction. That's how you compound power. Most men are busy, but not productive. They're moving, but not progressing. They confuse activity with achievement. Tommy would look at their scattered effort and see exactly what it is: wasted energy. Energy that could have built an empire, scattered across 100 irrelevant tasks. Focus is the force multiplier of consistency. You can be consistent in the gym, but eat garbage. You'll get nowhere. You can be consistent in networking, but offer no value. You'll build nothing. You can be consistent in showing up, but without clear direction, you'll exhaust yourself traveling in circles. Strategic consistency means 3 things. First, clarity. Know exactly what you're building. Tommy always knew. Legitimacy, power, security for his family. Every move traced back to those objectives. What's your objective? If you can't answer in one sentence, you're not clear. And without clarity, consistency is just motion without meaning.
Second, prioritization. Not everything deserves your consistency. Most things are distractions. Tommy ignored most opportunities because they didn't serve his strategy. He said no to 99 things to say yes to the one thing that mattered. Your consistency must be ruthlessly selective. Third, patience. Strategic consistency plays the long game. Tommy spent years positioning pieces before making his move. While others wanted quick wins, he built foundations. While others chased instant results, he constructed systems. The long game always wins because most people don't have the discipline to play it. Think about Tommy's approach to any enemy. He didn't react immediately. He gathered information consistently. He built leverage consistently. He positioned allies consistently. Then, when the moment was right, he struck. One move, decisive, complete. That's strategic consistency in action. Most men are sprinters trying to win marathons. They go all out for a week, burn out, quit. Then they restart. Then they quit again. This cycle destroys more potential than failure ever could, because every restart costs momentum. Every quit erodes belief. Eventually, they're just collecting false starts. Tommy ran marathons like a machine. Same pace, same focus. Day after day, year after year. He didn't burn bright and fast. He burned steady and eternal. That's how empires are built. Consistency without strategy is wasted effort. Strategy without consistency is fantasy. You need both. Ask yourself, is your daily consistency aimed at a clear target? Are you building towards something specific, or are you just busy? Because busy is a trap. Busy makes you feel productive while keeping you broke, tired, and irrelevant. Strategic consistency means you can measure progress. You can see the compound effect. 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, you're not starting over. You're exponentially ahead because every day built on the previous one. That's power. That's inevitability. Comment now, my consistency is strategic. Make it real, because the man who combines strategy with consistency doesn't just succeed, he dominates. 5. The psychological armor of consistency. Consistency doesn't just build external success. It builds something more valuable. Psychological armor. The kind of mental fortification that makes you unbreakable when others collapse under pressure. Thomas Shelby walked into rooms full of men who wanted him dead, and he didn't flinch. Why? Because his mind was fortified through years of consistent discipline. He'd proven to himself thousands of times over that he could face discomfort and win, that he could face fear and move forward, that he could face exhaustion and still execute. That's not bravery, that's evidence. Most men doubt themselves because they have no evidence of their own capability. They've quit too many times. They've broken too many promises to themselves. They've negotiated with weakness so often that they no longer trust their own word. So when pressure comes, they fold, because they have no psychological armor. Tommy had evidence, mountains of it. He'd shown up in the tunnels day after day. He'd built businesses from nothing through relentless consistency. He'd faced enemies that should have destroyed him and survived through disciplined execution. His mind was fortified by proof. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you're adding armor. Every time you execute despite fear, you're strengthening your foundation. Every time you push through when quitting feels easier, you're building psychological infrastructure that will carry you through future battles. This is why consistency matters beyond results. It builds self-trust. When you're consistent, you know you can count on yourself. You know that when you commit, you deliver. You know that when you decide, you execute. That self-trust is power. It eliminates hesitation. It destroys doubt. It makes you dangerous because you move with absolute certainty. Tommy moved with that certainty. You could see it in every scene. He didn't second guess. He didn't waver. He didn't look for validation because he'd proven to himself repeatedly that he was capable. His consistency had built an identity. I am a man who finishes what he starts. I am a man who keeps his word. I am a man who executes. That identity is armor. When someone threatens you, you don't panic because you have evidence you can handle threats. When opportunities arise, you don't hesitate because you have evidence you can execute. When challenges appear, you don't fold because you have evidence you overcome. But if you're inconsistent, you have the opposite. You have evidence of your own unreliability.
Every broken promise to yourself is a crack in your armor.
Evidence that your word
Every
means
negotiation
nothing.
with discipline
And that evidence
is a weakness
destroys
exposed.
you from within.
Every quit is proof that you can't be trusted. And eventually, you become your own worst enemy because you know, deep down, that you'll probably quit again. Tommy never gave himself that doubt. He built consistency until it became identity. Until I am consistent wasn't something he did, it was who he was. And once consistency becomes identity, breaking it feels like self-destruction. So you don't break it. You can't. This is the psychological shift that changes everything. When you're trying to be consistent, willpower runs out. But when you are consistent, it's just who you are. No negotiation, no decision fatigue, no willpower required. It's identity. Ask yourself, what evidence do you have of your own capability? If you're honest, what does your track record say about you? Does it say you're reliable, disciplined, unstoppable, or does it say you're the person who talks big and delivers small? The good news? You can change that evidence, starting now. Every day of consistency is a data point. Every week of execution is proof. Every month of discipline is armor. Build enough of it, and you become psychologically untouchable. Comment, my consistency builds my armor. Own it, because the man who builds psychological armor through consistent action cannot be broken by external pressure. 6. Consistency in silence, the hidden power. Thomas Shelby's most powerful weapon wasn't his gun, it wasn't his money, it wasn't even his strategic mind. His most powerful weapon was his ability to be consistent in silence, to move, to build,
to execute without announcement, without applause, without validation. This is where most men fail. They need everyone to know they're working. They need validation for every effort. They need applause for every step. So they announce their goals, broadcast their plans, and when the attention fades, so does their consistency. Tommy built in shadows. He moved pieces in darkness. He executed while others slept. And when the world finally saw his work, it was already complete, already irreversible, already dominant. Silent consistency is the most dangerous form of power. Why? Because nobody sees it coming. Your competitors aren't watching. Your doubters aren't preparing. Your enemies aren't defending. They're asleep while you're building. They're celebrating while you're grinding. They're talking while you're executing. Then one day, you emerge, and it's too late for them to catch up. Most men announce their goals because they want credit for intention. They want people to think they're impressive before they've done anything impressive. But announcing goals kills consistency. Why? Because you get the dopamine hit of approval without doing the work. Your brain rewards you for the announcement, not the achievement. Tommy never announced. He just did. And when people finally realized what he'd built, it couldn't stop it. They couldn't compete with it. They could only respect it or fear it. Silent consistency protects consistency. When nobody knows what you're building, nobody can sabotage it. Nobody can discourage you. Nobody can plant doubt. You're protected by obscurity while you develop power through consistent action. This requires something rare: the ability to work without external validation. Most people need constant affirmation. They need likes, comments, recognition, approval. Without it, they quit. That's why they're weak. That's why they never build anything lasting. Tommy didn't need anyone to tell him he was on the right path. He knew. He trusted his vision. He trusted his process. He trusted his consistency. And he executed in silence until the results spoke louder than any announcement ever could. Silent consistency also protects you from interference. The moment you announce your plans, people start offering opinions, usually bad ones, usually from people who've never built anything. They'll tell you why it won't work, why you should do something else, why you're wasting your time. These voices are poison, not because they're trying to hurt you, but because doubt is contagious. One negative comment can plant a seed that grows into hesitation. Hesitation kills consistency. Consistency is what builds empires. So work in silence, build in darkness, execute without announcement. Let your consistency compound in private until it becomes undeniable in public. Here's the pattern: announce less, execute more, let results speak. Tommy followed this religiously. He didn't tell people he was taking over territories, he just took them. He didn't announce he was building political connections, he just built them. He didn't broadcast his plans, he just executed them. And by the time anyone realized what was happening, the game was already over. This is the power of silent consistency. It's patient, it's focused, it's unstoppable. Because while everyone else is busy performing, you're busy building. While they're collecting validation, you're collecting power. Ask yourself, do you need people to know you're working, or are you comfortable building in silence? Can you execute without applause? Can you stay consistent when nobody's watching, nobody's encouraging, nobody's validating? If you can, you're dangerous. Because the man who doesn't need external validation is the man who can't be stopped by external doubt. He's self-sustaining, self-driven, self-validated through results, not opinions. Comment: I build in silence. I speak through results. Lock it in, because silent consistency is how empires are built while everyone else is still talking about building them.
7. The compound effect, why consistency always wins. Here's the mathematics of power that Thomas Shelby understood instinctively. Small actions, repeated consistently, compound into empire-level results. Most men want the shortcut, the hack, the overnight success. They see Tommy at the height of his power and think he got there through one brilliant move. They don't see the years of daily discipline that built that moment. They don't see the consistent execution that created the infrastructure. They only see the result. This is the compound effect, and it's the most underestimated force in human achievement. Imagine Tommy's approach to building the Shelby Company. He didn't wake up one day and suddenly have an empire. He made one good deal, then another, then another. He built one connection, then another, then another. He won one battle, then another, then another. Each action, individually, seemed small, but compounded over time, unstoppable. This is why consistency beats intensity every time. The man who goes all out for a month, then quits, gains nothing permanent. The man who shows up moderately every day for years builds a foundation nobody can shake. Intensity is impressive. Consistency is inevitable. Think about it mathematically. If you improve 1% every day for a year, you're 37 times better by the end. If you decline 1% every day for a year, you're nearly at zero. The difference isn't in dramatic moments, it's in the daily compound. Tommy's power compounded, his reputation compounded, his network compounded, his resources compounded. Every consistent action added to the previous one, and over time, those additions multiplied into something unstoppable. Most men quit before the compound effect kicks in. They work for weeks, maybe months, don't see dramatic results, and assume it's not working, so they quit. They try something else. They quit that too. They spend their entire lives starting over, never staying long enough to see consistency compound into dominance. This is the trap of impatience. It makes you abandon the path before the path rewards you. Tommy had the patience to let his consistent efforts compound. He didn't need immediate results. He trusted the process. He trusted the mathematics of consistency. Here's what compounds. Habits compound. Every day you execute a positive habit, it becomes easier. Eventually, it's automatic. That's compounding discipline. Reputation compounds. Every time you deliver on your word, people trust you more. Eventually, your reputation does the selling. That's compounding credibility. Skills compound. Every day you practice, you improve. Eventually, you're miles ahead of where you started. That's compounding mastery. Relationships compound. Every interaction where you add value strengthens the connection. Eventually, you have a network that opens doors. That's compounding influence. Resources compound. Every dollar saved or invested grows. Every asset acquired appreciates. Eventually, you have wealth that works for you. That's compounding power. But all of this requires one thing. You must stay consistent long enough for the compound to matter. Most people give up at day 30. The compound effect kicks in around day 300. They quit right before the breakthrough. They abandon the path right before it leads to the destination. They stop showing up right before showing up would have changed everything. Tommy never quit, even when it looked like he'd lost, even when every logical person would have walked away. He stayed consistent. He kept executing. He trusted the compound. And eventually, the compound delivered empire-level results. Ask yourself, what would happen if you stayed consistent for 5 years? Not 5 days, not 5 weeks, 5 years. Where would you be? What would you have built? What would you have become? The answer should terrify your competition, because if you commit to 5 years of strategic consistency, you become unstoppable. Not because of one big move, because of thousands of small moves that compounded into something nobody can compete with. Comment, I trust the compound effect of my consistency. Commit to it, because the man who understands compounding doesn't need to see immediate results. He knows they're coming. It's just mathematics. 8. Becoming untouchable through consistency. Untouchable, that's the final state. Not simply successful, not simply disciplined, but untouchable. Operating at a level where ordinary rules don't apply to you anymore because you've transcended them through sheer, relentless consistency. Thomas Shelby became untouchable, not because he was the smartest or the strongest, because he was the most consistent. And consistency over time builds something that talent never can: inevitability. When you're consistent long enough, people stop seeing you as a person who might succeed. They start seeing you as a force that will succeed. It's no longer a question of if, only when and how much. That perception shift is everything.
Consistency makes you inevitable. Think about Tommy's reputation. When he gave his word, it was law. When he set a plan in motion, it was already done. The execution was just details. When he targeted an enemy, that enemy was already finished. This wasn't arrogance, this was the reputation earned through years of consistent follow-through. Most men are unpredictable because they're inconsistent. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they deliver, sometimes they fail. This unpredictability makes them weak, makes them untrustworthy, makes them forgettable. The consistent man is remembered because people can count on him. They know what he'll do. They know he'll follow through. They know his word means something. In a world full of talkers, the consistent executor becomes invaluable. But being untouchable through consistency goes deeper than external reputation. It's about internal certainty. When you've been consistent for years, you develop an unshakable belief in yourself. Not arrogance, certainty. You know that whatever challenge appears, you'll show up. Whatever obstacle emerges, you'll push through. Whatever setback occurs, you'll recover, because you have years of evidence proving you can. That certainty makes you untouchable mentally. Tommy faced impossible odds repeatedly: the Italian mafia, the Russian aristocracy, the British government. Each time he should have been destroyed, but he wasn't, because mentally he was untouchable. His consistency had built such strong psychological infrastructure that external pressure couldn't crack it. This is what most people never achieve. They build external success but remain internally fragile. One setback breaks them. One failure destroys their confidence. One criticism shatters their resolve. Because they haven't built the foundation. They haven't done the consistent work that creates unshakable internal strength. Tommy did that work every day, in the dark, in silence, building internal fortitude through consistent discipline. By the time he faced his enemies, he'd already won. They just didn't know it yet. To become untouchable through consistency requires 3 elements. First, time. You can't rush this. Consistency must be maintained long enough to build the compound effect. Short-term consistency impresses people. Long-term consistency makes you legendary. Second, non-negotiability. Your consistency can't be conditional. It can't depend on mood, circumstances, or convenience. It must be law. The moment you make it negotiable, you've lost. Third, identity. Eventually, consistency must shift from something you do to something you are. You're not trying to be consistent, you are consistent. It's identity, and identity is untouchable. When you reach this level, things change. Opportunities find you. People want to be associated with you. Your reputation precedes you. Doors open that were previously locked. Why? Because everyone wants to work with the person they can count on. The person who always delivers, the person who never quits. That person is untouchable. Ask yourself, what would it take for you to become untouchable? Not through talent, through consistency. Through showing up so relentlessly, so mercilessly, so unavoidably that the world has no choice but to recognize you. The answer is simpler than you think, but simple doesn't mean easy. It means show up, every day, no matter what, for years. That's it. That's the secret Tommy lived by. No shortcuts, no hacks. Just brutal, beautiful, unbreakable consistency. Comment now, I am untouchable through consistency. Make it your declaration. Make it your identity. Make it your law. 9. The final order. You've heard the laws. You've seen the evidence. You understand what Thomas Shelby built and how he built it. Now comes the only question that matters. What are you going to do about it? Because understanding changes nothing. Only action changes everything. And not just any action, consistent action. The kind that builds empires, the kind that makes you untouchable, the kind that transforms you from ordinary to inevitable.
Here's your final order, by order of the Peaky Blinders. 1. Decide your direction. Clarity before consistency. Know what you're building. Make it specific. Make it measurable. Make it unavoidable in your mind. 2. Build your system. Consistency requires structure. What will you do every day? Define it. Schedule it. Make it non-negotiable. 3. Execute in silence. Don't announce. Don't broadcast. Don't seek validation. Build in darkness. Let your results be your announcement. 4. Protect your consistency. Guard it like Tommy guarded his family. Anyone or anything that threatens it must be cut out, ruthlessly, immediately, without apology. 5. Trust the compound. You won't see dramatic results immediately. That's fine. Trust the mathematics. Stay consistent. The compound will deliver. 6. Build your armor. Every day of consistency is evidence. Every week is proof. Every month is armor. Build it until you're psychologically untouchable. 7. Never negotiate. Not with yourself, not with weakness, not with comfort. Consistency is law. Laws aren't negotiable. Tommy Shelby didn't become a legend through one brilliant moment. He became a legend through thousands of consistent actions that nobody saw, through discipline in darkness, through execution without excuses, through showing up when everyone else gave up. That's what separates the remembered from the forgotten. You have a choice right now. You can close this and go back to your old patterns, back to starting strong and fading, back to big talk and small action, back to being ordinary. Or you can make a different choice, the choice Tommy made every morning, the choice to be consistent, the choice to execute, the choice to become untouchable through relentless, strategic, unbreakable discipline. The world is waiting to see which choice you make. But here's the truth. The world doesn't care about your choice. Only you do. Only you will live with the consequences. Only you will look back years from now and either celebrate the consistency you built or regret the potential you wasted. So, what's it gonna be? If you're ready, if you're truly ready to commit to the path of consistency, prove it now. Comment below. By order of the Peaky Blinders, I am consistent. Write it, mean it, live it. And if this message struck you, if it burned truth into your mind, do what must be done. Like this video, subscribe to Sci-Form, turn on notifications, because this isn't entertainment, this is transformation. Each word, each law, each strategy is a weapon for your arsenal. Use them, forge yourself, rise. The world respects consistency. The world bows to the inevitable. And from this moment forward, that must be you. By order of the Peaky Blinders.